My name is Drew McCoy, and I was raised in Arlington, actually moved here when I was 3 years old, but went through the Arlington County Public Schools. Went to Woodmont Elementary School, which got closed and turned into a community center of some sort. Went to Stratford, which ultimately became H-B Woodlawn, and then from Stratford went to Woodlawn. I actually went into Woodlawn the second year. The first year of Woodlawn, they only had 11th and 12th grades, and then the second year they opened it up to 10th grade, so that was actually the first opportunity that I had to go. And it was a really, it's an interesting situation because I had the experience of having spent a whole lot of my life. I'm now 55, and I've spent a whole lot of my life basically kind of looking ahead. And it's really only recently that I've been kind of looking back. And so to some degree, I've been very, very detached from Arlington and from Woodlawn, other than an occasional visit with my family who still live here. My mother's still alive. She's 85, still lives here. But particularly as I've reflected in advance of this celebration of the 40th year of the founding of Woodlawn, it's really resonated to me as to how important this was to me. It was a pretty interesting situation. The founding of Woodlawn actually occurred out of the strife of the 60s, late 60s and early 70s, and there were a number of people in the county who were unhappy with the kind of academic curriculum and the like that existed within the Arlington County Public Schools. Even though the Arlington County Public Schools were really great and on a nationwide basis were considered to be really terrific, there were those who felt that that there were many people who were kind of being left behind because it didn't conform to what their needs were. And so there was a lot of resistance actually from the school board, but they kind of came up as to kind of placate people. They kind of said, all right, well, here's this elementary school that we're shutting down, and go ahead and give it a shot. And there were many who thought that it would never survive. Now we fast forward 40 years later, and I read that it's considered to be, the top school in the Washington D.C. area, one of the top schools in the nation, and so it's clearly an experiment that worked. But what I think was kind of most interesting for me, the best way I could characterize it is that at the time, Woodlawn was basically put together by and for a group of misfits, and were put into a school that in and of itself was a misfit. So the students were misfits, the teachers were misfits, our janitor was a misfit, and the school was a misfit because we're, here it is, a high school, and we've got drinking fountains that are made for children who are, in third grade. So it was the entire experience it was kind of against all odds. That's the way this thing was put up, and yet it gave an opportunity for people who really wanted to take hold of it and run with it to really flourish. And so that's, I think, ultimately what launched Woodlawn and has positioned it in as high esteem as it is today, because people have an opportunity to break out of the traditional school infrastructure and really pursue learning on their own path and at their own pace, and really focus on learning, not focus on the standard infrastructure that a school provides. So it was, for me, it was personally, it was a great opportunity for me. I was able to capitalize on that. I remember going away to college and realizing, seeing kids who had been in a traditional school structure who just completely flipped out in their first year of college. They had no idea how to function outside of their home and outside of their parents' structure and the structure of a school. The notion that they didn't have somebody taking attendance and all those kinds of things. It was just something that they couldn't handle, and yet it was completely natural for me because that was my high school experience. I think as well, on a personal note, where I was kind of a misfit is that my birthday is on October 15th. That meant that at the time when I was entering first grade, I actually just missed the cutoff in order to be able to go into first grade. So I ended up being, for the longest time, I was kind of the oldest kid in my class. And that was the case for me throughout my entire Arlington school experience. And I ended up graduating from Woodlawn at the end of 11th grade. So I went into college as the youngest person in my class. But frankly, what I think, as I reflect on it, I realized that had I gone to Washington Lee, which is where I have my diploma from, they never would have allowed me to have graduated a year early. And I believe that it really served me well. So I have nothing but good feelings about it. And as I sit here and I kind of look back and I realize, these roots and this connection, I know that it absolutely changed my life and for the positive. And I'm thrilled to see that it has endured and is considered to be such a great institution.